Flight delays and air traffic control staffing shortages, ripple effects of the government shutdown gaining velocity and visibility. Labor Secretary Lori Chavez DeRemer on the shutdown stifling of key economic data, the state of the U.S. job market, and how many jobs AI may soon devour. 2 years of suffering. We speak with Liren Berman, his two brothers, Gali and Ziv, still in Hamas custody. Is their release imminent? Talks in Egypt offer some hope. Hello, everyone. I'm Major Garrett in Washington. Let me welcome you to the Takeout. Standoff begets slowdown. That is the lesson of previous government shutdowns, and it's playing out now. As before, trace effects at first, then more pronounced ones. In the category of trace effects, yesterday and today, staff shortages occurred at air traffic control towers in Burbank, Newark, Nashville, Indianapolis, Albuquerque, and Denver. Some of those shortages passed with a simple shift change. Others lasted longer. Each sent unwelcome ripples through the system, and flight delays are beginning to manifest. Yesterday, Hollywood Burbank Airport, just north of Los Angeles, was shut down for hours. Here's what it sounded like when a flight was seeking clearance.
Hey, are you guys, is clearance open still, or is it closed for Burbank?
It's closed. Everything in the tower is closed. You have to call the 800 line.
Sorry, I was just getting my headset on. You said everything's closed for, like, our clearances?
The clearance is closed, ground's closed, local's closed. The tower is closed due to staffing. So you just contact SoCal on the 800 number in the green book for your clearance.
Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy said this is not an organized sick-out, that the unions are cooperating and the airlines are managing as best they can. Safety, Duffy said, will require actions as we're taking at Burbank if there are simply not enough air traffic controllers. So far, this has only created flight delays, not cancellations. But the stress on the system is evident, and Duffy said concerning. To explain those stresses, we turn to our senior transportation correspondent, Chris Van Cleve, who joins us from Sky Harbor Airport in Phoenix. What are the stresses? And we want to use grounded, non-fearful language to describe what's going on and the implications. So, Chris, take it away.
Sure, Major. You know, the stresses on the system are there is a shortage of air traffic controllers. So already you have many facilities that are dealing with less than optimal staffing. So one or two sick calls can really put a pinch on how a part of the air traffic control system operates. So the Burbank Tower might typically only have 3 or 4 people in at a shift if it's fully staffed. So a couple of sick calls there, and you could very quickly get to zero like we saw. It doesn't happen very often, but that's what happened last night. For several hours, you had basically no one working in that air traffic control tower. So the reaction to that is you slow down the flights coming in and out of Burbank Airport, and they're handled by other air traffic control facilities that have the staffing to handle the volume, but you're going to slow everything down. That's why you saw a lot of delays into Burbank and some cancellations. The airport stayed open even if there was no one in that tower. You know, you saw things like that happen here in Phoenix, one of the best staffed ATC regions in the country. They had staffing issues yesterday. We're looking at staffing issues play out again today at several airports. Chicago O'Hare, Nashville is seeing long delays at a time when you have a lot of events going on in Nashville today, so that could really disrupt people's abilities to get to some of those events. Those are sort of the real world impacts you're seeing. You're seeing delays. You know, if normally 5 controllers are working and they can handle 50 airplanes, now there are 2. Well, they're not going to handle 50 airplanes. They're going to handle 20 airplanes, 25 airplanes. So that's delays. That's the potential for cancellation. So far, what we have seen are the delays. You know, we are seeing more of these staffing issues than are normal. The union will say this is not a coordinated effort, that this is normal. It is not normal, but it also doesn't look to be a coordinated effort because it only takes 1 or 2 people calling in sick. And that could be it's flu season. That could be they feel overwhelmed by the fact they're not being paid. There are a lot of reasons why people could be taking sick time right now. But on a whole, as the trend, call-outs, staffing issues are increasing within the air traffic control system.
Comprehensive as always. Chris Van Cleve, thank you so very much. I appreciate it. Earlier, I spoke with Secretary of Labor Lori Chavez DeRemer on the government shutdown. Please take a listen. Madam Secretary, thanks for joining us. What can't the Labor Department do under the shutdown than it could before?
Well, several things. One of the things that we've been focused on is registering apprenticeships. That was an executive order by the president. 1 million active apprentices across this country. We had registered over 220,000 since the president took office, and now we've had to come to a stop in registering those apprenticeships with not only the public sector, but the private sector as well. And that's been disappointing to want to get to that 1 million active apprentices for the skilled workforce.
And also, you cannot assemble statistics that many in the private and public sector rely upon.
Absolutely. It's one of the things that this country and the markets rely on is the Bureau of Labor Statistics to release that report every single month, the first Friday of every month, something that I go out into the public and talk about. You know, I get that report 1 hour prior, and we were not able to get our hands on that report this time. And that essentially then affects
and first-time jobless claims and related data.
Absolutely. I think the modernization, the streamlining of those reports, accurate data points, whether it affects businesses, interest rates, the markets themselves, it's an important piece of information that we can have access to that now we don't have because of the shutdown.
How many furloughed employees at the Labor Department right now? And do you expect when the shutdown ends, as we know it will, eventually they all do, they'll all be back paid?
Well, this is what we know. During the beginning of the Trump administration, we had volunteers who determined that they didn't want to continue working. During this shutdown, we are going to have to furlough lots of employees. Essential employees will continue working to service the American people, whether it's our enforcement departments, when we're talking about wage and hour, unemployment insurance, that those types of essential workforce need to stay on in the Secretary's office. But we need to get this government back to work for the American people for lots of those reasons that I mentioned. And in previous shutdowns, we've seen that there has been back pay. What ends up moving forward, the quickest way to get people paid is to get back to work. And the Democrats really need to vote on this CR and get people back to work.
The reason I ask is there has been a law, the Government Employee Fair Treatment Act, 2019, passed in the Trump administration, signed by President Trump, first time around, that guarantees back pay. But there's an Office of Management and Budget memo going around now that creates some doubt about that. What's your knowledge of this situation?
I haven't seen that memo from Russ Vought at the OMB. I know he's instrumental in the decisions that the president is working with through the executive branch. When Congress failed to do their job, that the process is it goes to the executive branch, and the president is leading this executive branch. So I'm sure they're going to have conversations. What we do want to do is open the government and get people paid for the work that they're doing, because we're going to see across this country, people are working and they're not getting paid. We're going to see people working, Border Patrol, ICE agents, who might get some pay. That's concerning for the American people when they're going to pay their mortgages, their car payments, their utility bills, provide for their families. We want the American people back to work.
What is your sense, Madam Secretary, of the job market in America today? There are reports consistently, private sector generated, meaning ADP, Bureau of Labor Statistics before the shutdown, labor market softening. There's a kind of phraseology that goes around, no hire, no fire.
Well, I can tell you this, the momentum has been great. Since the president took office, private sector jobs, probably a little bit older statistic, 84% of the jobs that were created were all in the private sector. I'm sure that that's been updated, probably even higher. What we saw was the public sector take a hit in those jobs, federal government jobs. But that's the exciting part, that we're seeing native-born Americans take these jobs. 2 million plus jobs were created, all American-born. The private sector was booming, the blue-collar boom. We're seeing the trades boom. The president has had these trade talks for fair trade across the board, for the implementation and the investments of the American workforce. So my focus has been, how do we grow this economy? How do we have more people in the workforce who are our tradesmen and women, our electricians, our manufacturers, our high-tech, electricians? All of that across the board is what I've been focused on. And now that has come to a screeching halt because the Make America Skilled Again, the focus there has all been come to a halt. We want to get those dollars out to our respective states And now we're going to be at a standstill.
And the data that suggests manufacturing has shrunk in the Trump administration 2.0?
Well, what the Trump administration has been focused on is the onshoring and reshoring of manufacturing. Shipbuilding, 250,000 new jobs over 10 years, 25,000 jobs a year is what we need in shipbuilding.
They'll come in the future. They haven't come yet.
Absolutely. We have to do the investments now. It's going to take time. I mean, it's silly to think from what we inherited from the Biden administration that we're going to just turn it on and turn it off. But what we can't do is take our foot off the gas. That's where the American people, I think, I know, voted for this president because the belief in the American economy, America First policies, that he was going to put the American worker first. And that's what we've been doing. And we've seen that through consumer confidence. We've seen that in unemployment rate holding steady. We've seen that in the more money being spent. Consumer spending has gone up. We've seen real wages have gone up. So this shutdown is not doing any good, and it's bringing all of that. I mean, GDP, they were expecting, what, 1% growth, 3.8%? Right. And now this might take a hit. We don't want to see a standstill in the American economy. We want to see continuing growth and investment.
Madam Secretary, before I let you go, and I hope you'll come back.
I would love to.
The Democrats on the Senate Help Committee, Health, Education, Labor, Pensions, fed ChatGPT a question about the future of artificial intelligence and the American workforce. And it came back with this answer. Artificial intelligence and automation could replace nearly 100 million jobs over the next 10 years, including 89% of fast food and counter workers, 64% of accountants, and 47% of truck drivers.
Well,
you think that's true?
Well, I don't know if that's true or not from ChatGPT, but here's what I do know.
Does that alarm you?
Well,
even the potentiality of that?
Well, the potentiality should be, how do we retrain the workforce? How do we upskill the workforce? We saw that in the industrial age. We see that in the technology age, the computer age. Things will change. But AI is here to stay. And we want to make sure that our workforce has the tools that they need. And that was one of the things that the president has done. We have an AI task force. I sit on the subcommittee of that task force to make sure that we are working with our respective states to get them the dollars that they need so that we have our workforce proficient and literate in AI. That's what this government shutdown is doing. We're not able to continue on that road. And we want to make sure that we are AI dominant compared to every other country in the world. That's what the president's asking for, so we need to get back to work. You know, I was a member of Congress. I voted 5 times for a continuing resolution under the Biden administration of 2023 levels. This is their funding. And you mean to tell me they can't do this? They know they can do it. They're playing political games. I find that unfortunate on the backs of the American people. So I want to get back to work. I want to get back to work for the American people, and the American people are expecting government to work for them.
Madam Secretary, it's been a pleasure.
Thank you.
Please come back.
Of course.
I wish you loved Chicago as much as you hate President Trump.
The Attorney General and Illinois Democratic Senator Dick Durbin clash. A tense Senate hearing as Pam Bondi takes questions on the Epstein files, FBI firings, and crime. The anguish of waiting, of not knowing. Liren Berman joins me to discuss his 2 brothers still in Hamas captivity. Plus, Garry Kasparov celebrating St. Louis, the epicenter of global chess. The answer to that, yes, it is. Plus, his take on Trump, authoritarianism, and New York's Zoran Mamdani and his socialism. All that as the Takeout returns in 90 seconds. Welcome back to the Takeout. The clash, we should note, was predictable. Attorney General Pam Bondi and Democrats on the Senate Judiciary Committee. Here is a small sample.
In my state, the word is, and I think it's been confirmed by the White House, they are going to transfer Texas National Guard units to the state of Illinois. What's the rationale for that?
I wish you loved Chicago as much as you hate President Trump. And currently, the National Guard are on the way to Chicago. If you're not going to protect your citizens, President Trump will.
What conversation did you have with Mr. Ballard?
Senator Blumenthal, I cannot believe that you would accuse me of impropriety when you lied about your military service.
I am
you
not
lied.
asking
You admitted you lied to be
accusing
elected a U.S. senator. You lied. How dare you? I'm a career prosecutor. Don't you ever challenge my integrity.
Jake Rosen has been following this for us. So, Jake, with that soundbite as a precursor, who's Mr. Ballard?
Ballard is part of Ballard and Associates, which is a lobbying firm that Pam Bondi worked for in the interim between her past kind of jobs before she took this one. What she did there was work as a lobbyist for, in part, and one part of her very wide range was the Qatari government. That's been obviously of central focus of the Senate Judiciary Democrats and Democrats as a whole in Congress, because what did Pam Bondi know and or work between and behind the scenes about that Qatari jet that was gifted to President Trump? And obviously, in addition to that major, what she actually did for them, because there are accusations she didn't properly list her kind of full resume of what she did. She said in this hearing, and has said repeatedly, that that work was just around the World Cup and stopping human trafficking and working with the Qatari government to do that.
That was the line of questioning there. Was there a line of questioning about what is going to happen tomorrow with James Comey, the former FBI director? Repeatedly,
and it was from both sides, because Republicans were obviously touting the work that Pam Bondi and her Justice Department have done on this. We heard it from Lindsey Graham. We heard it from Chuck Grassley, two very prominent senators on this committee who were touting and thanked her for her work on bringing people like James Comey, who they believe had done wrongdoing, not just in related to potentially lying to Congress, but potentially other things. Think about the 2016 election and the Russia investigation. At the same time, we saw people like Dick Durbin, who we saw Pam Bondi get into a clash with there a little bit. Adam Schiff, who's on that list of people who President Trump told Pam Bondi to investigate and to potentially prosecute, and quickly, all push back and say, you've caused this massive disruption, not just in the Department of Justice, Maine, down here in D.C., but in all these prosecutor offices where these cases have been investigated. There are career prosecutors in many cases, specifically in Virginia. A Trump-appointed prosecutor refused to bring that indictment against James Comey, and what she knew between the White House. She punted, and multiple times on multiple different lines of questioning around this, saying that she's not going to dive into any of this, and she touted Lindsey Halligan, that former Trump aide who's now installed in that top prosecutor role, for actually securing that indictment. But again, reminding people that what at least has been done so far has been fully legal in terms of bringing this indictment against James Comey, and we'll see him in court tomorrow.
Any questions about the Epstein files?
And there were a number, and part of this has been what Democrats have been pushing for since this memo came out, which was, who are you protecting? Why haven't you investigated a lot of those suspicious activity reports that were submitted by
the
banks?
Financial connection points.
And not just that, but who maybe behind the scenes financially Epstein had backed or had his backing of. At the same time, we saw even Senator Kennedy from Louisiana come forward and say, why haven't you even investigated a Trump cabinet member, Howard Lutnick, who went on another media outlet and said that, who was allegedly apparently neighbors with Epstein at a certain point in time, and said he was one of the top blackmailers in the world. And why haven't you investigated him and talked to him about what he knew about this
Howard
Epstein?
Lutnick did.
Exactly. And
based on what he said on another media outlet.
Exactly. And coming, this flank still coming from the right is still true. Pam Bondi said it's up to Kash Patel to do that. However, obviously, she oversees Kash Patel and the FBI to some degree, so certainly could be under her purview to do that.
Much to sift, and you sifted it well, as always. Jake Rosen, thank you very much. Joining me next on The Takeout, North Dakota Republican Senator Kevin Cramer. He said last week he believed the government shutdown would be short. Today we mark day 7. We'll figure out what our current definition of short is when we come back. You're watching The Takeout. Welcome back to The Takeout. Lawmakers appear to be no closer to bringing the government shutdown to an end now after a full week of shutdown situation. North Dakota Republican Senator Kevin Cramer joins me now from Capitol Hill. Senator, good to see you as always. Paint me a picture. How does this end and when does it end?
Yeah, well, on the first question, it ends when Chuck Schumer, falls off the log. Like I always say, for Democrats, funding the government is like falling off a log. I'm surprised he's been able to hang on this long. And when it happens, you're right. I thought it would be short. I thought it'd be shorter than this. I still believe, Major, that it's hard to imagine that Democrats are going to allow our police officers and our military men and women to not get paid at the next opportunity. As you know, federal workers that aren't in the military get paid this weekend, and then next Wednesday is the deadline for our military. I just can't imagine that they're going to hold out beyond that. That said, they're pretty dug in. I mean, Chuck Schumer's more afraid of AOC than he is of the ramifications of a shutdown, I'm afraid.
The president said yesterday afternoon at the Oval Office that there were negotiations going on, and he was open to talking to Democrats about the Obamacare subsidies being extended. Are there talks going on? Is that a pressure valve that could be opened and end this?
Well, Major, I think that's a possibility, but I don't think they can be extended. They won't be extended in the CR, and that's really a major point. We have to begin with this. Remember, this is a bill that has already passed the House of Representatives, which is by far the higher hurdle of the two. Having said that, now, of course, we're a week into it, as you said. Democrats are a little bit more dug in, but I still believe that we can do the clean CR. This is not an offensive CR. We passed 13 clean CRs during the Biden administration. And I just got to believe that once Democrats accept the fact that we will negotiate in good faith, probably with a solution that nobody will love but everybody can handle, that relates to the bonus premium assistance from the Biden era, which is, by the way, was designed in their law that only Democrats voted for and President Biden signed to end at the end of this year. So they set the expiration date, but we probably can come up with some proposal that works for them and for us, and but it just has to be after the government's reopened, so we have that good faith.
Senator, today the president inserted rhetorically, and his director of Office of Management and Budget put it in a memorandum, some possibility that a 2019 law that President Trump signed guaranteeing workers furloughed during a federal government shutdown would receive back pay might not receive that. Are you comfortable with that?
Well, we've looked at that law, and it's a little unclear. But the reality, Major, is I've been through a lot of these. I've never seen a situation where, if not the law, certainly the negotiated reopening of the government ensured that would happen. So would I be comfortable not paying people who have, whether you like them or not, or think highly of the agency or not, that they wouldn't get paid for work they did? I would be very uncomfortable with that outcome.
As a tactical matter, are you comfortable with the president's rhetoric today, calling Democrats as if they were on a kamikaze mission or acting like insurrectionists? Isn't that going to make them dig in even deeper?
Well, there's certainly a lot of tension between the parties, but having said that, again, we are talking about a clean, continuing resolution, something the Democrats have voted for dozens of times. It's the easy button for them. And let's face it, AOC is a marine wildlife trainer with a bucket full of fish, feeding a bunch of Democrats that are very uncomfortable with the situation they're in. So I just can't imagine that this is going to go to the point where people aren't getting paid.
And you mentioned the military a moment ago. It has been raised on Capitol Hill that there might be a separate piece of legislation singularly focused on making sure members of the United States military are paid regardless of the duration of the shutdown. Do you see that happening?
Well, it's possible, Major, and I would certainly be open to something like that. However, at the same time, if we take away all the leverage points for reopening the government, there's no incentive for Chuck Schumer to do the right thing, and we're just going to continue in a Schumer shutdown unless we get them to confess. And by the way, there are a lot of Democrats already. There are a lot of Democrats ready to vote for this. Just get them to do their jobs, and then we will negotiate in good faith. Mike Johnson has been crystal clear about that. I talked to Mike today. He has talked to Patty Murray, the ranking Democrat on the Senate Appropriations Committee. We've got an appropriations process that's actually working for the first time since I've been in Washington, quite honestly, where we've actually passed bills. We're already conferencing some of the appropriations bills with the House. All of the bills that have come out of the Senate Appropriations Committee have been overwhelmingly bipartisan. So we are in a good moment to do the right thing here, but we have to reopen the government and end this Schumer shutdown.
Someone I know you know well, you might even like, Angus King. He's an independent. He caucuses with Democrats. Right. Yeah. He has said today that because of the attitude of the White House and this idea that it's going to shut down Democratic programs, he may reverse his support for the continuing resolution to open the government and stick closer to Chuck Schumer. Isn't that an indicator that things are moving the wrong direction? Not that all these Democrats are privately wanting to vote for this and reopen the government?
Perhaps, and Angus has been one of those moderate, transactional Democrats that wants to reopen the government, has voted to do that. And I think Angus is playing a little bit of the same leverage with Donald Trump as Donald Trump's playing with Democrats. I think we all ought to just sit down and come to a manageable decision that just passes this clean CR that's already passed the House. I keep stressing that because it's not unimportant. And then we'll negotiate in good faith on the other issues. And I'm more than happy to give Democrats whatever assurances they need that we will negotiate that. But there has to be some give and take on our side as well as it relates to the fraud this program that they want to extend has been wrought with, some sort of a glide path over the course of years that brings it back down to pre-pandemic levels, and not cutting any of the Obamacare benefits, by the way, or the people that receive them. We just can't have these bonus, premium supports that are part of the pandemic, and they are called for the pandemic on purpose.
Senator Kevin Cramer, North Dakota Republican. I appreciate the time, sir, as always. Thank you.
Always my pleasure. Thanks, Major.
2 years since October 7th, and peace talks renew hope for those with family members still held hostage. Next, I'll speak with a man fighting for the release of his two brothers. That's next, right here on The Takeout. Welcome back to The Takeout. Welcome to the Conversation Corner. And it's going to be a challenging conversation for sure. Citizens across Israel today gathered to mark 2 years since the October 7th terrorist attacks. This was the scene at a public plaza in Tel Aviv, informally named Hostage Square, marking 2 years since Hamas killed nearly 1,200 people and took 251 hostages. 48 of those hostages remain in captivity, some living, some dead. Among them, brothers of Liran Berman, and he joins me now. Your brothers, Ziv and Gali, 28. What, if anything, do you know about their present circumstance?
What we know is from the end of February, there was a sign of life from both of them. They were held separately. This we know from the first deal in November 2023, that they were separated. They survived. We have eyewitnessing from both deals, in the first one in November and the second one in January, February. And since then, we have intelligence, but intelligence, it's not eyewitnessing. It's like something different. Mm-hmm. But we know that they are alive, that they are surviving, that they are true heroes.
You feel confident at this moment they're still alive?
Yes.
There is a dreadful up and down process of hope and resignation that has flowed through your life and the lives of others whose family members are still in captivity. Where are you on that spectrum right now?
It's a roller coaster of emotions. Right now, we are on the higher one.
Upside, a little bit.
Upside down, upside the way. This is the most optimistic I've been since beginning of January, before the second deal. This is the closest we got to a comprehensive deal to bring all hostages back and to end the war. This is the closest. Are we there yet? No. There are obstacles. But I do feel that we are closest to a deal. This is why we came here. We came here to make sure that the administration, which is done amazingly for us, will push just a little bit harder, just to the end, to end this, to bring back all 48 hostages, including my two little brothers, and to end the war, so we can start rebuilding as a nation, as people, so we can start rehabilitation.
How do you feel about the Netanyahu government and its approach to this whole matter?
Our government is not perfect. I'm not a politician. I don't know what I would have done instead of my prime minister. Clearly, he hasn't done enough, because not all the hostages are here. And we know that 41 were murdered in captivity, entered Gaza alive, and were murdered in captivity. So a sooner deal will surely make them come back alive. And again, I don't know what I have done in his place. Certainly more.
Mm-hmm. Is there any part of you, Liran, that is conflicted about the hardships faced by those in Gaza who are not aligned with Hamas?
I don't know who is not aligned with Hamas. I vividly remember the photos of October 7, the videos of October 7, the civilians parading the streets of hostages coming back into the city of Gaza, celebrating, kicking, giving candy on the street. And throughout those not almost 2 years today, not one civilian in Gaza helped my brothers or any other hostage not one. In the Holocaust, in the 5 years of the Holocaust, there were many, many Germans, Dutch, Polish who helped Jewish people in the Holocaust. Not one Gazan in 2 years helped one hostage, not one.
So that hardens your heart.
It is, but I do believe in the future of coexisting. It depends if Hamas is not there anymore. There will be a coexisting between us and our neighbors. There will need to be a few years of trust rebuilding. It's not easy. We have a lot of mistrust of the Palestinians in Gaza. But it is possible. It is possible through education, and it is possible through who will govern Gaza.
Tell me about your brothers.
My little brothers. We are 4 siblings, 4 brothers. Our mother always wanted 3 girls. Then I came out. Then our middle brother, Idan. And Gali and Ziv were her last chance for a little princess, and she got 2 beautiful, strong twins, boys. They are each other's best friends. Ever since they were born, they were each other's best friends. And our mother tried her best that they won't be the stereotypical twins, like never the same clothes. She tried to sign them to different activities after school. She sent them to different friends, but their bond, their twinism was so strong that they're always drawn to each other, playing in the same football team of the kibbutz, supporting the same football teams, working together as light technicians in the sound and light industry, in the entertainment industry in Israel. Traveling around the world together, the same group of friends, different group of friends, but same. They were always together, always. They were the heart of the family, the heart of every place they went to. And I miss them so much on a daily basis. It's unimaginable.
May you be with Ziv and Gali soon.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for coming in.
Thank you so much.
I appreciate it very much. From canceling so-called woke programs to student loan reforms, Trump 2.0 is reshaping education in many, many ways. How are those changes going over with educators? Well, I'll ask one of the head, rather, of one of the largest teachers' unions in the United States for her opinion. That's next here on The Takeout. Welcome back to The Takeout. Continuing in the conversation corner. Not a household name, but Lindell Fields was sworn in as Oklahoma's new superintendent of public instruction. That happened today. Why? Well, because that person replaced Ryan Walters, you see him there, who resigned last month following what could only be described as multiple controversies. Those included ordering schools to incorporate Bible teachings into curriculum and announcing a plan to put Turning Point USA chapters in every high school in Oklahoma. Days after stepping down, Walters tweeted, quote, "Teachers' unions are targeting conservative teachers. Time to destroy the teachers' unions once and for all." Well, for some perspective on that, I'm glad to have here at the Conversation Corner Randi Weingarten. She is the president of the American Federation of Teachers, one of the largest teachers' unions in the United States. Randi, thanks for joining me.
It's my pleasure.
Your reaction to that hostility to teachers' unions writ large?
Well, it's kind of why it's that kind of sentiment that kind of pushed me to write this book, why fascists fear teachers. But think about it. You can't teach children without teachers. And teachers need, it should be self-evident. And teachers are the most densely unionized people in the country, because that's how, in a country that's a free country, no one has to be a member of a union anywhere in the United States of America. I mean, people can drop their membership anytime they want. They can start a membership anytime they want. So when teachers are the most densely unionized people in America, that means they want their unions. And that means they need their unions. And as conservative teachers and liberal teachers and non-ideological teachers, frankly, most teachers are not really ideological. So when a guy like Ryan Walters, who didn't support teachers in Oklahoma, the Oklahoma scores kept on going down, people like small businesses partied when he left the superintendency. They wanted him gone. Everybody in the state really wanted him gone. So what it says is that he's barking up the wrong tree. Why doesn't he just actually try to help teachers teach students?
So the title of the book is obviously intentional. Who are the fascists in America?
Well, what I did was a warning about fascism in America, because what I was really concerned about, Major, was what I saw. And look, I'm an AP Gov teacher. I'm at fault too, because what we do not do in America, we teach the American story. The American story is a great story. It's, you know, there were these rebels 250 years ago. They changed America. They changed the world. They created a democracy. And we have been struggling and striving ever since to be a better democracy. We don't teach fascism. We don't teach authoritarianism. And I watched General Milley and General Kelly basically try to warn America about fascistic behavior. So what I'm trying to do is I made very clear, first few pages, I said it very clearly, I am not calling anybody a fascist. I am identifying fascist behavior, authoritarianism behavior, because I want us never... I'm trying to identify what it is, including the breadcrumbs that you now see here in America. But, you know, because I am creating a warning to hopefully ensure that we never have it. We have a big red blinking light right now. When all of a sudden you start seeing a president of the United States start talking about the Insurrection Act and putting the military on streets in Portland and Chicago when they don't want it, when they don't need it, they don't want it, that is a blinking red light. But the second reason I wrote the book was because teachers in America, and this goes back to your first question about Mr. Walters, they need support. If we're going to help kids not only find their futures, but have a future, strive, be confident, we have to support the teachers who are in classrooms right now. We have to strengthen, not abandon public education. There's a lot of things we need to do to support public ed, to change it, to make it better. But it starts with, let's lift up teachers. Stop smearing them. Stop undermining their unions. If you think I'm doing something wrong, call me out for doing something wrong. Don't destroy the union. Do things that we need to do to ensure that every kid gets to the American dream.
It's a long conversation. I want you to come back. Please do.
My pleasure.
Randy Weingarten, it's been a pleasure to have you. The book, Why Fascists Fear Teachers. She's holding it up. From pawns to politics, chess grandmaster Garry Kasparov on the game and his politics beyond the chessboard. That's next. You're watching The Takeout. Welcome back. The historic St. Louis Chess Club is hosting a grand reopening after huge renovations. All month long, there is a lineup of big events bringing together legends of chess and today's biggest stars. That's highlighted by a match between former world champions Vishy Anand and Garry Kasparov. They will face off after last battling, get this, one another 30 years ago. That was at the 1995 World Chess Championship. Kasparov won that match. Now, he joined me earlier to preview the renovations, this big exhibition game, and a lot more. Please take a listen. Garry, it's great to have you on the program. You're headed to St. Louis for the St. Louis Chess Club, which my notes tell me is now the epicenter, the global epicenter of chess. Explain that.
Absolutely. What it takes is just, one enthusiast with a lot of money and believe that chess could serve his native town and also its education in this great country. And Rick Sinquefield had this dream nearly 20 years ago. He heavily invested and built something absolutely amazing. It's the Hall of Fame, Chess Hall of Fame, and the St. Louis Chess Club, which is now you maybe call it the epicenter of global chess. Definitely is the chess capital of America, because all major chess events in America took place and still taking place in St. Louis. And for me, it's a special place, not just because of the phenomenal respect for the game of chess, which can be compared only to the old days of the Soviet Union, but also it's because since now I'm out of professional chess, I'm retired, but it's the only place where in the world where I play chess. So I show up there once a year to do an exhibition So just to remind people that I still remember how to move the pieces.
Right. And you're going to have a match, and lots of global leaders in chess will be in St. Louis for the next month, right?
Yes, they have this special chess month. The main event, unfortunately, is not for me, but the main event of 4 best players in the world will take place at the end of the month in St. Louis. But I will play Vishy Anand, my old opponent, so the also former world chess champion, and it will be a celebration of the 30th anniversary of our World Championship match, which took place in New York in 1995 in the World Trade Center. And believe it or not, our first game was played on September 11.
Wow. Wow. Garry, a question I know you get a lot, but I want you to explain it to me and my audience. What is the hook of chess for young, middle-aged people, old people?
Look, chess has no physical restrictions. So whether you're young or you're old, physically not strong or just over powerful, so you still have the same resources. So it's a game of wits, game of intellect, and especially for young kids, it's an opportunity to learn about patterns. It's to learn about connectivity, and again, you rely on you. It's everything you do. It's you at the chessboard, no one else to help you. So it's a great sense of responsibility to be learned. And for the older players, look, it's a game that not by accident survived for more than 2,000 years, and it's illustration that again it can easily adjust. So as we speak, there are hundreds of thousands, more likely millions of games being played on the internet, and that tells you about the popularity of the game.
Garry, let's talk a little bit of politics. You live in New York. You have thoughts on Zoran Mamdani, but you also have thoughts on President Trump. Take them in that order, please.
Look, every day I feel more and more like Nostradamus. So the moment I predict something, it does happen, and I'm not happy at all. So as for the elections of the mayor, I think it will be very bad for the Democratic Party if, and most likely when, Mamdani is elected, because that will be a gift for the Republican Party to portray Democrats as socialists, which is quite ironic because we could see, speaking about President Trump, some of the big moves, like buying stakes in private companies that remind me of socialism. So I think we are now like squeezed. We have 2 extremes that are competing who could do more damage to the country.
And you wrote recently in The Atlantic that there is a creeping authoritarianism in the second Trump administration that reminds you very much of Vladimir Putin.
Absolutely. I have no doubt that now we should forget for a moment about 2028 and concentrate on 2026. And it's not just celebration of 205th anniversary of Declaration of Independence and birth of this great country. It's the probably ultimate test for American democracy. Donald Trump has all full intentions to control the elections. The elections will be free, but I'm not sure it will be fair. And we have to fight now hard to make sure that people's voice will be heard and not to be influenced either by technocrats, what I call techno-fascism, or by people in the masks, dragging protesters from the streets, and or also by many agencies that unfortunately will be following Donald Trump's order. It's more likely than the Constitution.
Garry Kasparov, I appreciate the time. When you're next in D.C., please come by for an extended conversation.
Absolutely. I'm sure, we'll have a lot to talk about.
No doubt. All the best to you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Happy Tuesday, everyone. This is, as you know, The Takeout. Relentlessly curious, reliably civil, occasionally clever. The Daily Report starts now.